Hey guys, welcome to a new video. Like, comment and subscribe if you enjoy. Without any further interruptions, enjoy the what if. CH11 accursed move. Start the match, Proctor, said Naruto as his voice changed to that of a demonic one while Sasuke turned his head to see Naruto, whose eyes were red, rinnegan deactivated, with slitted black pupil, his whisker marks more defined, his hair spikier than before, his fangs and nails elongated, which overall gave him a demonic appearance. Meanwhile, Hayate gulped at the ridiculous amount of killing intent that Naruto was emitting, whereas poor Misugi was buckling on his knees, sweat pouring down his forehead as he prayed to Kami to let him come out this alive. Kami, at least spare his Sharingan, thought an uncharacteristic Orochimaru, who had doubts if Sasuke's body would be usable enough for him after the match. Sasuke. How dare you call Kushina-sama that, thought the furious copy ninja, angry at his student for unknowingly insulting such a legend, and someone he looked up to besides his sensei. Meanwhile, Sakura was also angry at Sasuke for his comment about Naruto's parents. She had come to admire and respect her blonde teammate, and didn't like someone insulting him. Even though it was Sasuke, she couldn't help but feel that slowly she was coming to dislike Sasuke. That bastard, son of a bi. No, sorry Makoto-sama. That motherfuck. No, again sorry Makoto-sama. That asshole. Yeah, how dare he insult Kushina-ne like that. I'll make sure to have our dogs feast on him, thought Hana while gritting her teeth, barely restraining herself. She wanted nothing more than to rip the Uchiha to shreds right now and burn his remaining parts to ash in the hottest flames of hell. While the other ice queens could barely control their anger and killing intent, but a glare from Hiruzen kept them in place. However, they were helpful that the ridiculous amount of killing intent was not directed at them. But they were surprised that the Uchiha could even stand under such killing intent that Naruto was emanating. You should thank me, Sasuke-kun. It's because of Curse Seal that I triggered partially that you're able to withstand such killing intent, thought Orochimaru with a smirk, but now he was more interested in the Jinchuriki himself than the Uchiha. With the power of Rinnegan and the strongest Biju, he would be unbeatable. Meanwhile, Mei and their companions had deep frowns etched on their faces. That was a low blow indeed, but in the world of shinobi everything was fair. They were also surprised by the stupidity of the supposed last Uchiha. Pulling a stunt like that after seeing what the blonde Jinchuriki was capable of was just suicidal. Even Sasuke was becoming nervous by seeing Naruto's demonic features, as were all the genins, who didn't have any idea what was going on. Control yourself, Naruto. You can't lose it here, thought Kakashi with a straight face, while inwardly he was worried for both of his students, worried for Sasuke that he may get killed and for Naruto that the council may take charges against his actions, and the fact that he was releasing Kyuubi's chakra here. On the other hand, Gaara was becoming excited at the feeling of bloodlust floating in the air, while he was feeling something he was not familiar with. But that was anger. He was confused, mainly towards the Uchiha for insulting Naruto's mother. Uzumaki's mother wants your blood, Uchiha. Mine too, thought Gaara, in of those absurd psychotic moments of his. Kin was feeling angry and was emitting her own killing intent along with Ino and Temari, however that was being dwarfed by Naruto's right then. Ignoring his instincts who were telling him to hide in the Uchiha compound and never come out, he settled into his clan's taijutsu stance, an arrogant smirk etched on his face. While Naruto just stood there, his blood-red eyes glued on Sasuke, whereas Tsuruga just raised his hand. Proctor, I forfeit, said the sound nin anxiously, wanting to stay away from the angry blonde, while Hayate just raised his eyebrows. Are you sure? He asked but only got a nod in return. All right, you can stand with the others now or leave the arena, he informed while Sasuke watched the leaving nin with satisfaction, the idiot thinking that it was because he didn't want to face an Uchiha. Smart move, thought Kurenai along with many others, referring to Masumi as she thought it was better to stay away from Naruto right now. Are you guys ready? Asked the sick Proctor, while Sasuke just nodded, more confident in himself than ever because of the forfeit, whereas Naruto just stood there like a stone, like he was in a trance-like state and was only staring at Sasuke with barely restrained anger, never having said a word since he landed on the floor. Hajime! Yelled Hayate before jumping back from the two while the floor just cracked under the pressure of Naruto's feet, his demonic features more defined and an even higher killing intent washed upon the arena in waves. Attack me with all you got, Uchiha. I'll show the power you so desire, said Naruto in demonic tone, reverberating throughout the arena. Meanwhile Sasuke was becoming more nervous by the second, not sure what the hell was going on here. What is he, and what is that red chakra flowing through his coils with a small mixture of white? Thought the Uchiha, for the first time thinking reasonably since the beginning of second part of the Chunin exams. But he quickly composed himself, wanting to show the loser his place and that he's much stronger than these pathetic so-called genins. What? Why isn't he just clobbering the Uchiha brat? Thought Yugao and Mei, surprised that Naruto just didn't attack head front. Since he was in so much anger, they were expecting him to just pierce through the stuck-up brat. Your funeral, Dobi, said a smirking Sasuke before throwing several kunai and shuriken at Naruto, who just tilted his head while swatting the remaining weapons with a kunai, all the while keeping his bloody demonic gaze on the Uchiha, angering the rookie of the year even more. You think you're so tough, huh? Said Sasuke, angry that a low-life such as this loser was showing him in front of almost every accomplished Chunin in the village and the cages, before he dashed towards Naruto at high genin speeds. Naruto would have yawned if he wasn't angry, seeing that the Uchiha was taking forever to reach him, especially when he had fought an opponent as fast as Lee, who was in the Celestial Gate mode. Upon reaching him, Sasuke threw combos of punches and kicks as fast and as hard as he could, but to no avail as Naruto seemed to just dodge these attacks with ease, all the while his eyes staring at the frustrated eyes of the Uchiha. He's toying with me, thought Sasuke, his frustration rising so much that his attacks began to become sloppy and unsynchronized. Stay still so I can beat you, he yelled as Naruto ducked under his kick. Naruto, seeing as how unpredictable he was, surprised everyone by complying to Sasuke's wish and didn't dodge the next punch aimed for his cheek. When his fist connected with his cheek, Naruto only took a step back from the blow while his face was facing in the opposite direction of Sasuke due to impact of the blow. "HN, are you hurt, Dobi? Don't worry, I'll go easy on you from now on," said Sasuke with smirk, the limits of his foolishness. Much to the surprise of the genins, Naruto turned his head back before spitting the blood on the floor, apparently unharmed with only a small bruise on his cheek. His face emotionless, blue eyes which usually held mirth and mischievousness in them were now icy red. "Is that all you've got, Uchiha?" asked Naruto, further angering Sasuke, who had just gotten out of his shock. That would have been a knockout punch for any other normal genin, thought Anko, inwardly grinning perversely at thought of Naruto's lean muscular frame. The possibilities. Shut up, loser. Sasuke went through a couple of familiar hand seals before releasing a larger fireball, pouring much more chakra in the jutsu than before. The larger-than-normal fireball approached Naruto at high speeds, but to the horror of everyone he just stood there. "Naruto, move out!" yelled Sakura. However, years of experience told Kakashi that the blonde enigma was going to pull something extraordinary down there. Meanwhile Naruto just put his right palm towards the ghastly approaching fireball, his expression still as emotionless as before, with his eyes fixed, as if they were piercing through the fireball to gaze dangerously upon Sasuke. "Shinra Tensei," he whispered quietly to himself, and to the much shock of everyone, the fireball disintegrated into small sparks of fire as if the arena was filled with fireflies. It was a beautiful sight to behold, and the others would have recognized it if not for their shock-induced states. Holy mommy of Icha, taijutsu, lava, byakugan, Aao senpai, coolness, sex, loli-chan, omoi, panta, sharingan, torture, genjutsu, pups, kenjutsu, blood, fate, Sasuke-kun, barbecue, smoky-chan, flames of youth, sound, snakes, sss. Thought Hiruzen, Mei, Ao, Chojiro, Samui, Nibi, Omoi, B, Sasuke and Kakashi, Anko, Kurenai, Hana, Yugao, Gaara, Neji, Sakura, Choji, Asuma, Guy, Kin, and finally our lovely Orochimaru simultaneously, all of their jaws on the ground. Suddenly the gravity seemed to increase too much to pick their jaws. "I've never, ever seen as someone do this to a ninjutsu in my entire sea career," thought a shaken Hayate. "My turn, Tem," said Naruto before his traces vanished from the reaches of the almighty Sharingan, while Sasuke looked furiously around himself for any sign of his rival or enemy. Naruto appeared in front of Sasuke to deliver a hardcore punch to his stomach, the Uchiha spitting some blood while Naruto twisted his fist at the point of impact. "How does it feel, Uchiha?" said Naruto before again blurring out of Sasuke's vision, delivering a spinning kick after appearing behind him, sending the rookie flying towards the wall like a comet whose ass is on fire. Just as Sasuke was about to crash, Naruto appeared near the wall before delivering a handstand uppercut kick on his jaw, leading to the Uchiha getting airborne. Sasuke was in a whole world pain right now. His right eye was swollen black, which was closed, blood seeping from his mouth, while his left cheek was swollen too, along with multiple bruises on his face. All in all, his fangirls would have puked if they would have seen him in this condition. His stomach was still hurting from that monstrous punch, leading to him having fits of cough. The world around him spinning while his brain couldn't register anything. Small chirping imaginary birds were flowing around his head while his thoughts were along the line. He, Itachi-chan is such a good brother, I love him. Happy birthday, thought the pretty fucked up Uchiha, his brain not on the right track before he was sent flying towards the hard concrete floor, courtesy of an angry Naruto's leg drop. Sasuke crashed violently on the ground before Naruto landed near him. Grabbing his ankle, he hurled the Uchiha like he was an empty ramen bowl towards the only craterless wall. Sasuke was sent spiraling towards the wall like a shuriken before he got stuck in the crater because of his collision, debris and chunks of cemented wall flying in all directions. Kami, how can he possess so much strength? Thought a stupefied Kin, but on the other hand was satisfied by the answer the Uchiha got because of the insult. Naruto was in front of an unconscious Sasuke in a flash, his eyes glowing red as pushed Sasuke further into the wall by grabbing his neck. Never, paused Naruto before punching him in the stomach. Ever, punch. INSULT, punch. MY, punch. Ka-san, got that TEME, punch. Each time Sasuke being embedded further into the wall while blood soaked out of mouth like a blood canal, all the genins wincing at the brutality of the attacks. But Naruto wasn't finished as he reared his fist, now crackling with electricity. Stop it. The match is over, Naruto-san. He's already unconscious. You won now, said a coughing Hayate, but it fell on deaf ears. Naruto, stop it. That's enough, yelled Sakura, while the others too thought that there was no need to further injure the already unconscious Uchiha. He was taking it too far. But the blonde Jinchuriki couldn't hear anyone's shouts, too flooded with anger to see the pitiful condition of Sasuke. RRRAAAAHHHHHH, gave Naruto a battle cry as his lightning-charged fist approached Sasuke's face. Behind him you could see Hayate and the other Junins dashing towards now seemingly out of control Naruto, but they knew that they wouldn't be able to reach him in time. Oh, and if possible take care of Sasuke, Naruto-kun, remembered Naruto, the words of Itachi as he visioned the pleading look in his eyes, the eyes of a big brother. To everyone's surprise, his deathly fist just stopped inches away from Sasuke's face, which was difficult to recognize now. The Junins and Hayate too stopped. His fists trembling, barely resisting the urge to just wipe the nuisance called Uchiha Sasuke from the face of the planet, while he was panting heavily. The lightning covering his fist slowly disintegrated. His eyes turned to blue before he grabbed Sasuke by his collar before roughly throwing him behind him, not turning his head. Hayate catched the Uchiha before quickly calling for medics, looking at the wounded Sasuke with disgust in his eyes. To be honest, the coughing proctor was somewhat himself pleased with the beating the Uchiha got. Nobody was worried for Sasuke except maybe Sakura and Kakashi, but they were mainly concerned for the blonde. Seeing him lose control like that made them somewhat worry. Kuso, yelled Naruto in frustration as he punched a hole in the wall, bangs covering his eyes while he gritted his teeth. Oi Gaki, are you alright? Asked Anko, expressing her concern under a mask of indifference while Naruto didn't respond. Tears slowly streamed down his face, his bangs still covering his eyes. Now the anger was gone, he was emotionally feeling frustrated. That insult, a painful reminder of that he would never see his parents, or he wondered if he would even know his father's name or hear about them. She's never coming back. Ka-san, I just want to see you once. Please, please, please. Is it too much to ask? He screamed in his head as more tears seemed to leak out, but he quickly wiped them with his hands when he felt someone approaching, not wanting to be seen as weak in front of everyone. He turned his head to see the proctor for the second exams walking towards him slowly, expecting to see a face of indifference or pity. he was shocked to see deep concern and worry for him in her eyes, even though her face was that of indifference. Meanwhile other Junins were busy in carefully lifting the Uchiha, seeing as they wanted to be seen as good in front of the council and the villagers for caring for the last Uchiha. "Are you, alright Naru-kun?" she asked in a much lower tone than before, so that no one could hear her besides Naruto, while Naruto himself was panting a bit due to exhaustion because of his fight with Lee and now his damn so-called teammate. "Again, she's calling me Naru-kun," he thought with a surprised face, but quickly composed himself. If she cared for him and didn't hate him for Ayumi, then he wasn't going to let go of any opportunity for making new friends. "I'm alright, Anko-san. You don't need to worry for me," he said while panting, giving her a small weak smile. Anko's heart clenched at seeing someone she loved so much in so much pain, while the Kurenai, Hana and Yugao were with other Junins pretending that they cared for Uchiha, although their eyes had never left Naruto as they were worried sick for him. Just as Anko was going to approach him to give him a hand as he seemed to be tired as well as emotionally drained, her eyes widened when she saw something or someone behind Naruto coming out of the wall, that haunted her in her worst nightmares even now. "Naruto, look out!" She screamed, startling everyone in the arena while Naruto just looked at her in confusion. "What d?" He paused when he felt pain on his side neck, his eyes widened in surprise before he started screaming in pain, further startling everyone. Behind Naruto, you could see Orochimaru's neck protruding out of the wall while his sharp fangs came out of the Naruto's skin on the side neck. "You bastard!" screamed Anko as she dashed full speed towards the snake Sannin. Behind her you could see Hiruzen ready in battle gear already dashing towards the wall with A and Mei. Naruto continued to scream while he clutched his neck in pain whereas Orochimaru started to withdraw back into the wall like the snake he was. "It was good to see you, Anko-chan," said a chuckling Orochimaru, his voice becoming distant just as Anko reached the wall and punched it as hard as she could, creating a large crater but no sign of the snake Sannin. Even though A's speed was said to be on par with the Yondaime Hokage, he was still too far to reach there in time to catch the Sannin. "Shit, all of you except the Junin sensei, spread out and search for Orochimaru. Inform all stations to start searching for him. Close all the exits and make sure no one gets out of the village until the search is finished. Move out," he said while all the Junins chorused a "hi" before disappearing in blurs. Even though Hana and Yugao didn't want to leave Naruto, they had to follow the Hokage's orders. "Curse you, Orochimaru, what are you planning now? First the Uchiha and now Naruto-kun," thought Hiruzen, angry at himself that Orochimaru was able to sneak among so many Junins and cages and pull this stunt. "Please be okay, Naruto-kun, you can't die on us. I haven't even told you who I am," thought Hana and Yugao simultaneously, glancing at his screaming form worriedly before sunshining out of the arena. Meanwhile, Anko hurriedly moved to give a clean chop to Naruto's back neck, rendering him unconscious, putting stop to his screams and caught him in her arms. "Anko, why did you do that?" asked Kurenai while Anko replied without looking at her, gazing at Naruto's neck on which a black curse just like Sasuke's was forming slowly. "If he stays unconscious and moves, the curse mark will spread faster. Hokage-sama, we have to hurry to the hospital," said Anko while gritting her teeth. "That bastard used his damn camouflage to sneak among us and used the opportunity like the snake he is. Orochimaru, first you destroy my life and now you're planning to do this to Naru-kun, aren't you? As long as I'm breathing, you wouldn't be able to touch even a speck of his blonde hair. God damn it," she thought before slamming her fist on the side wall, creating a small crater while a sweating Naruto, his body cold, was still in her arms. "Hurry up and go, Anko, his skin is becoming pale," ordered Hiruzen while Anko immediately sunshined out of the arena. "I hope he is alright," thought Yugito, worried about the blonde Jinchuriki. "Of course he would be alright, kitten, but first we have to find that snake bastard for doing that to our mate," said Nibi inside Yugito while she nodded. "Wait. What do you mean? Our mate? I don't even know him." "Then get to know him, kitten, and do it fast. 'Cause I can't wait to feel the immense pleasure that I know he will provide us," growled Nibi with lust while Yugito's blush deepened to that of Hinata's shade. "Be safe, cool guy," thought our typical Samui, angry at the Sannin. She didn't know the blonde Jinchuriki that much, but as far as she'd seen him, he was definitely in her cool things, list, and she wanted to know him better. Even though he was a Jinchuriki, and the way he was treated, he still remained upbeat, was compassionate to his friends and his goals, gave it his all, had a cheery personality but could become dead serious in a second if the situation called for it. All in all, he was the first guy in which she was even remotely interested. He had something which other males didn't have. These were the same things that urged May, almost subconsciously, to get to know him better. She didn't know why, but felt strangely worried along with a pang in her chest when she heard his painful cries. Almost all her life, she didn't had time to pursue any romantic relationship. First she was busy in her training and mastering her bloodline, then the unstable state of bloodline wars in Kiri where she was the leader of the rebellion group gave her no time for these things. But he was the first to catch her interest. True, she flirted with almost anyone, though not with perverts, but that was mainly because she enjoyed embarrassing others. But he was different. That charming smile of his, oh God, it made something flutter in her body. She didn't know what it was, but was eager to find out. Hokage Dono, we would also like to aid your shinobi in finding that bastard. He's an international wanted criminal after all, said A, barely containing his anger while May nodded with him. He had come to like the Gaki's attitude and the way he handled things, but to attack from behind, when someone was at its weakest, he truly was a wretched snake. As you wish, Raikage Dono, Mizukage Dono, said Hiruzen while A and May ordered their respective groups to aid the other shinobi in their search, before they all shunshined out of the arena. Kukuku, I'm sure you'll like my parting gift, Naruto-kun. But for now, both of you are enough. I'll think about the Hyuga heiress later on, thought Orochimaru while he blurred past an unknown location. Meanwhile, all the remaining genins were awestruck at the events that took place here. Although some of them had lost their respective matches, but with first aid their physical condition was stable, so they had opted to remain and watch the matches, to analyze their possible opponents' techniques and fighting styles. Naruto, thought Sakura as moisture gathered in her eyes, now both of her teammates had that curse mark. That asshole, I'll never forgive you, Orochi-tem. Naruto-kun, please be alright, Kin thought while Temari's and Ino's thoughts were along the same line as they prayed for Naruto's safety. Hokage-sama, may I go to the hospital to check up on Naruto's condition? Hinata needs treatment too. Hiruzen turned around to find Kurenai bowing in front of him on one knee, her head down while curly locks of black hair shadowed her face. Though her voice was as cold as usual, he knew she was worried sick for Naruto and was barely restraining herself from just following Anko right then. Hi, you can. The moment he had said, hi, Kurenai was out of the arena with Hinata, not allowing him to complete the sentence. Alright, listen everybody, for now all of you can leave except your sensei and rest. You will be called after 2 days for the results of the preliminaries, but know this, that the third stage of the exams will occur after a month from now, so you can start your training immediately while your opponents will probably be announced in 2 days, he said while everyone, who were shaken by the current events going on, nodded without hesitation and left the arena. Meanwhile, Kin, Temari, Ino and Sakura couldn't help but think how the blonde who had impacted their lives to the deepest levels was faring right then. Hokage-sama, can I, started Kakashi only to be interrupted by Hiruzen. No, Kakashi. You can't check up on Naruto-kun right now. Remember that Sasuke has the curse seal too, so we need you to guard him, and when he wakes up, you will have to seal that mark. But in case of Naruto, 2 seals on his body can give rise of complications. Jiraiya will arrive here in a day or 2, so I'll have him look into this matter. So right now, you have to guard Sasuke's room and report any abnormalities you may find. Is that understood? Asked Hiruzen in his authoritative tone while Kakashi offered a quiet, hi, before shining out of the area. Konoha's General Hospital, the receptionist was quietly working herself to the ground. The reason? These damn punky weak genins just kept getting injured or dying in the Chunin exams, and although that was not a healthy spirit she had, but she was tired of this paperwork. However, she was startled by a sudden poof of smoke, almost making her fall backwards with her chair. Orders of Hokage-sama, we need to treat him, now, came a frantic voice when the receptionist saw just who was talking to her, or just who needed treatment. She would have sneered at them if not for the murderous glare and a heavy killing intent that was emitting out of the torture specialist Junin. Those eyes clearly said, One wrong move, and you'll spend the rest of your days as my play toy in the torture and interrogation cell. By now, all the nearby doctors, patients, the receptionist and the nurses were having trouble breathing or even standing for that matter. "All right, hey you, get your ass over here," she called frantically, wanting to get them going as fast as possible. The doctor she had called looked towards her in shock. She had never spoken like that to him and had always respected him. But he quickly ignored that, seeing that Ibiki's apprentice was standing there, glaring at you would make any normal civilian soil themselves or change their personalities quickly. "And forget the stretcher. I don't trust any one of you. Just tell me the room. And hurry the fuck up you pansies," yelled Anko, her frustration reaching to her as she felt Naruto convulsing restlessly in pain, his eyes shut painfully, his skin now more pale than before while the said doctor cowered under her intense gaze before he quickly led her to a vacant room and in the process called several doctors with him for the treatment, who were inwardly cursing him for dragging them into this. The doctor knew that he had never ran so fast in his life, and he never thought he would have to do that for the demon boy, or the snake whore, for that. While the doctors began their checkup on the blonde Jinchuriki, one of them came and asked Anko to wait outside the room, but she knew about their shallow tricks. All the years of watching over Naruto, she, Yugao, Hana and Kurenai knew almost all of their bloody methods of torturing Naruto. "I'm taking none of that shit. What, you expect me to just puke like a shallow civilian while you do your work? I've seen and done worse than what you do during operations, so I'm gonna stay here. Do you have a problem you geezer?" she said in a threatening tone leading to the doctor sweating bullets, as that was just the thing they were planning to do. When the demon brat was at its weakest, they could just kill him, but now, with her watching their every move, who knew about every part of human anatomy as she was the chief head of the interrogation and torture department, they had to treat this demon incarnation properly. So begrudgingly, they began their work, some of them being medic nins under the watchful eye of Anko. Meanwhile Kurenai had just reached the hospital with Hinata in her arms. Seeing that she was a prodigy Junin along with the Hyuga heiress, they were immediately shown the room with a red carpet. After seeing that Hinata was apparently alright, she immediately asked for Naruto's room, which she had to do with a bit of threatening related to horrible genjutsus and all. Upon reaching the room, she saw Anko standing in the room with her arms across her chest while the medics were treating Naruto as fast as they could. Although her face seemed to be calm on the outside, Kurenai knew there was a raging whirlwind inside, ready to explode at the first signs of Orochimaru. Quietly walking up to her, she put her hand on her shoulder. "Anko," she trailed while Anko immediately jerked her hand off, startling the genjutsu mistress before turning around. "What do you?" she trailed when she realized that it was Kurenai. "Oh, Kurenai-chan, I'm sorry," she said, bowing her head a little while offering her longtime friend a weak smile, making Kurenai more worried. 1. Because Anko never uses her full name, and 2. She never shows her true self in public places such as this. "Anko, don't worry, he'll pull out of this. You know he's had worse than this. But, how is he doing now?" she asked while putting a caring hand on Anko's shoulder. "His condition has stabilized a bit," she said while closing her eyes. That bastard," she spat while clenching her fists by her side so hard that they were white from the pressure and were trembling with rage. First he destroys my life, and now," she breathed calmly to stop the quivering in her voice while clenching her eyes tightly, "he does this to Naruto-kun," she said with a quivering voice, unable to stop the tremor in her usually loud and confident tone while lowering her head, her fists tightly clenched by her side. Applying a weak genjutsu over them so that it looked like they were just standing next to each other to the passerbys as well as the medics, she quickly hugged one of her best friends. "Shoo, don't worry Anko-chan, his time will come too. Let it all out," said Kurenai as she rubbed Anko's back soothingly while the snake mistress's head was buried in Kurenai's shoulder, before she started sobbing quietly. Her sobs muffled as she buried her head on her friend's shoulders while Kurenai rubbed her back soothingly. Kurenai turned her head to see a now stabilized Naruto, although his skin was still a pale shade. "We have done all that we could. He is somewhat stable than before, but we don't know when he would wake up," said one of the medics as he bowed to the seemingly standing Kurenai, glaring at Anko before walking out with the rest of the medics. Naruto's mindscape. That bastard. Shit. He used that moment to his advantage and put that freaking curse mark on me too. I knew the asshole was a gay, thought Naruto in anger with a hint of bitterness, wanting to puke at the thought of the gay Sannin. As his anger and frustration subsided, he finally took a look around him, seeing the same lush trees, waterfalls and some nature thingies which he had visited so many times in the past few days. Ah, thanked Kami, maybe Ayumi-chan will know what to do. But his thoughts were interrupted when a huge wave of red chakra washed over the forest, effectively making him fly back. Ah, what the hell was that? He exclaimed while holding his head. It was like a sudden sparking pain had engulfed his head. Immediately standing up, he began walking down the familiar path. Upon reaching the center of the forest, he saw a glowing red figure of Ayumi sitting there cross-legged in a meditative stance, her eyes closed, scrunched up in concentration while tendrils of red chakra were flowing around her, her furry nine tails flowing behind her animatedly. Her loose kimono, which she had demanded after a while stating that the Junin gear was uncomfortable for her, was loosely hugging her body because of the wind created by her yuki, showing off a bit of her cleavage, making Naruto blush furiously. He almost drooled at the sight before shaking his head furiously while slapping his cheeks with both hands simultaneously. I'm not a pervert, but still, they look so, even thinking about made his nose bleed a bit. Remembering his condition, he slowly wiped the blood before slowly approaching her. Ayumi-chan, he said with uncertainty in his voice, not sure if he should disturb her of whatever she was doing, but he had to know, this was his body and mindscape after all. Hearing him, her ears perked up cutely. That curse mark, its chakra is trying to take over your body, she said as beads of sweat rolled down her forehead while Naruto nodded with her grimly. Hi, I figured that would happen. That snake bastard chose the best moment he could have gotten to give you the curse mark. Because you were at your weakest and were low on chakra, which I might add is very special and could have easily destroyed this curse seal. That's why I have to do the work, which I might again add that is not easy for me, she said, still not opening her eyes while Naruto's sweat dropped. Yeah, you keep on adding while the snaky's chakra is fucking up with my body, he thought sarcastically before asking her. What do you mean it's difficult for you? You're the queen of all bijus, right? He said while a slight smirk of pride settled on Ayumi's face. Of course I am, but since the seal is still strong, I cannot leak much of my yuki to override the mechanisms of the cursed seal. But I have to say that this cursed seal did one thing good for us, she said while the red tendrils around her started to get violent. Although her eyes were closed, she could still feel the confusion on Naruto's face. What I mean to say is that the curse mark is slowly eating away at the seal, and although it isn't powerful enough to be able to break the seal, but still it can damage at least 1/4 of it, which, well you know it, she said with a bit excitement in her voice at the last part while Naruto's eyes widened. Wow, that's amazing Ayumi-chan. Then we would be able to contact each other telepathically, and you would be able to see and hear through me, he said before jumping at her and hugged her tightly. Ayumi would have blushed furiously if not for the situation, but at least she could still afford a bit of pink on her cheeks, couldn't she? She would have fallen back if not for her 9 tails to support her as well as Naruto's wheat. Nah Naruto-kun, this is not the time, I'm still fighting the curse mark to prevent it from spreading here, remember, she said, trying to look angry but couldn't help but enjoy the physical contact with her favorite blonde. His warm breath tickled her neck, sending shivers down her spine, making her remember the heated kiss they shared, darkening the shade of red on her cheeks. Ah, Gomen Ayumi-chan. He jerked himself back, bowing his head to hide the blush that was lingering on his cheeks. Her curvy and plump assets felt so good. It's nothing. But know that it'll take some time for the seal to corrode effectively where I can force enough of my yuki and destroy that purple chakra as well as the curse mark. So, it might take a day or 2 on the outside, which means it'll take more time in your mindscape due to time displacement, she said, a light blush still on her cheeks before concentrating on the task at hand. Alright, then, I guess I'll use the time to train then Dadbeo, he said, the usual glimmer in his oceanic blue eyes when it comes to training. A tick mark grew on Ayumi's forehead, while Naruto, being the oblivious self, began to walk away for training when suddenly one of the Ayumi's tails grabbed his ankle before dragging him back to her. Ah, What are you doing, Ayumi-chan? He said quite so innocently while her eyebrows twitched in irritation and annoyance before she yanked him by his high collar of his trenchcoat. How dare you think about training when I'm busting my ass here to save you, she said with a murderous glare which truly justified her status of the strongest Biju, leading to Naruto cowering like a genin in the hordes of cages. But, he stuttered while her expression softened before she pouted with a teary expression, you don't care about me, do you? She said so innocently that Naruto had to restrain himself to just kiss the daylights out of her. No, of course not, Ayumi-chan, I do care about you, he said frantically while Ayumi smirked inwardly, hee, always works, before her expression suddenly changed back to an extremely happy vixen. Good, then sit with me while I kick that cursed seal's ass, she said while pumping her fists before pulling Naruto with her in the warm embrace of her 9 tails. Not one to give up on training, Naruto sneakily created a shadow clone, and mentally commanding him to create several other clones and start training far off from the center of the forest. The clone nodded before sneakily taking off to the other part of the forest. Gotta love the Kage Bunshin training, he thought while inwardly snickering to himself. Meanwhile, Ayumi sighed inwardly, he's just like Yukashina-chan, not one to ever give up on training. Immediately feeling quite comfortable in her warm furry embrace, Naruto began to fall asleep while Kyuubi continued to concentrate, which was supposed to be a somewhat long and a tiring process. Time skip. 2 days. Konoha's General Hospital, Naruto's room. Slowly coming to consciousness, Naruto tried to open his eyes, but the immediate exposure to light made him close his eyes shut. He could feel someone besides him, but the light sounds of snoring told him that she was asleep. Giving a grunt, he opened his eyes slowly while he could feel the one beside him also stir before a loud shout of excitement came for her. Naruto-kun. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like, comment and subscribe, as well as checking out the author on fanfiction.net.